All right. Put the mic right here. Hopefully, see if I can put it underneath like that. Yeah. All right, cool. Sick. And we will stream right here. Put OBS right here. And we'll get started. Let's see. I think we're just gonna do 2 hits today. Yeah, and then we can get straight into some fun characters. Men's faces. This is cool. All right. Do a little warm-ups before I even start on the faces. Let's warm up. Yo, how's it going? Welcome, Nep. Glad you could show up. Just warming up right now. Just getting hand loose over the weekend. Just didn't, you know, took a break, didn't draw all that much, so now just kind of, you know, making sure that we can get warmed up. Don't mind me, whatever I'm drawing. Oh hell yeah! What are you ideating on? Actually, you know what? Let's just make his arm straight so we have some flow. And then actually it'd probably be like that. Guy is on a skateboard. I don't know, just drawing, having some fun. going down a hill. So a little bit of the schedule. We're going to be doing some faces now that I'm a little bit warmed up. I'm going to be doing 2 faces. I realized 4 as maybe entertaining that as that might have been. Also takes away, like, 2 could just take me like 30 minutes each. If I'm like thinking about like facial structure and actually like practicing. So yeah, we're just gonna do 2, and then from there just sketch some characters, maybe get some reference, and then kind of go from there. So today we are doing Billie Eilish and a dude who looked like he would be a background dancer for Billie Eilish. Actually, let's do this. Yeah. Main character for my first game. I'm using this character for a mentorship right now, but it's a good two for 1. Get the character design so I can confidently animate and get good feedback. Oh, nice. Are you mainly into animation? What it kind of sounds like? Or is it more like you're doing like a portfolio in your like VFX designing, or? Okay. Nose would be somewhere up here. Mouth would be something like that. And then if we do lips normally like this, we can bounce it over here. Or maybe we could, let's see, kind of pinches over here and does this. And then this bounces like that. And then we have something more over here. Right now, when it comes to this particular animated mouth, I'm just looking at the silhouette. Just kind of constructing from there and seeing what I can come up with. So this would overlap over here. Then here, probably be her nose is kind of tilted up, so we would do something along the lines of this. And it would kind of curve like this. Gonna do this. This is gonna give like the Chad look for the for the next like early stages of the construction of her face. Because she got very sharp cheekbones. So right now we're just gonna try to not make this look as well. This is probably gonna look very meme-like early on. Maybe even shrink her mouth just a tad because her mouth looks a little too big. And then this probably come over here. Definitely a character answer, but so I figure make a game for it. Oh, nice. Yeah. That so ironically enough for the industry, which isn't talked about too much because a lot of the times it gets shadowed by like your fundamentals and like how to execute, like first like just getting the drawing part like down to a T. But once you relatively get that down to a T, you're going against like a whole market of people who got it down to a T, right? So if you think about it, if there's like on average, let's say there's like 1 million people who are new, so we'll just say like new, right? And then let's say there's new to digital art or concept art, right? And then there's people who go into the intermediate, so we'll say inter. So let's cut that number down, right? Because to get to intermediate means you know that the foundations exist, right? If you're in the new spot, some people don't even know, including me. When I was in high school, I did not know that like the term foundations actually existed, right? So you find out what foundations are, and then you get pretty decent at it. And that number goes from like 1 million. These statistics aren't real, by the way. But like roughly speaking, to like 70,000, more or less, right? And then at a certain point, you become like advanced, I guess you could say. So just put AD, advanced, right? And that number gets cut down to like 20,000. And then you get like pros, right? And then that number gets cut down to like, I don't know, like 10,000. More or less, give or take. Like when the people say like the concept art industry is like really small, it's really small. It's not like, not a lot of people get to this point, right? And so like most of the time, you know, most people are in this area where it's like you're new, or like you found out what fundamentals are, you're kind of getting there, you're not good at them, but you're better than the average person, right? And then at a certain point, you master the fundamentals and you start getting into like design. So we'll say like fundamentals, fundies, and then you get into like design, right? And this is for like concept art specifically. Some people like at this point, if they like get advanced, they'll go into like illustration. Design or like / illustration, right? Illustration, right? And then pro is like you just get good at like either designer, you know, and you get picked up for a job, right? Interestingly enough, specifically for games, right? If we branch off to what it takes to get to this point, right? Games specifically, if you learn the pipeline, I'm pretty sure you already know this because you're doing it, but this is for people who don't. For games, what branches you out and gets you into the pro status is no longer about like fundamentals or design, because there's an assumption that you have taste and you're like really good at it, and there's like foundations that like people don't have to handhold you for, right? Relatively speaking, if you're in like the intermediate, or if you're in like a mid-level or like associate, there is some level of like wiggle room and like growth there that you can improve further to get into that senior. But like this is like later on, right? So you have like design, and so what branches you from here is learning other teams. Like if you want to get into a AAA job or even like an indie project, you learn other disciplines. Like if you're a game designer, or if you learn like game design on the side, like Unity, or we'll put GD for game design, Unity or Unreal, and you know how to navigate it, and you know how to like prop place for like environments, or create characters, or animate them in some sense, or create abilities, then that alone kind of separates you from the mass. And it's not just like you're slightly good at it, like you're really good at it, right? There's also like VFX, which is like more of the like common route to go down. Like you can like animate, you can create like VFX more at a like surface level, not a professional level, but a surface level, like you kind of get the idea. There's some people who learn how to animate, right? And we'll just put Annie. Some people learn how to animate. So those people sometimes go into, what do you call it? Viz dev stuff, right? More animation stuff. But if you're getting into a game and you know how to animate, like actually move the character around, you could get into some fighting games, right? There's also 3D, right? You learn how to use like Blender or Unity. Like that alone is also a amazing skill to learn, right? And so just learning the pipeline of a game and then being able to help out one team member, like one team member out of the entire pipeline will get you like recognized faster, right? So if you're like, oh dude, like I feel like I'm there, like I'm good, I'm great, or whatever the case may be, there's something that's just missing. Like, why am I not getting picked up? It's because like in order to get noticed more like directly, it's you have to know some of these branches a little bit more concisely. That gives you a better opportunity, right? That's what happened to me with like my portfolio project. Is like I like to focus on VFX more often than not because I love VFX in game. And so most of my tasks at work have to do with like VFX, right? And so, you know, that's the thing that takes you like once you kind of learn this subset of skills, like we'll put sub skills, right? Then the likelihood of somebody picking you up is way greater, right? You go from like competing against like 20,000 people to like, if you just narrow your skills, you're only competing against like maybe a couple, like maybe like 300 people, right? Like if you learn these subsets, you're only competing against maybe like the pros or like to get into like here, right? You're not competing against a lot of people, right? And most of the time, pros, the reason why they're able to get into other jobs much more quickly is because they know those subset of skills. They're in the environment 24/7, right? Like they interact with everybody all the time. So when another company is like, they're like, who do we hire? The guy with like 6 years of skills, but his fundamentals or his skill sets aren't at the level that we're kind of looking at, but he's been in like whatever, like 20 different titles or whatever the case may be. They'll hire him over the guy who probably has a little bit better sub skills just because he knows the pipeline a little bit better, or like a lot better. Like they don't have to explain to him how to design VFX. They don't have to explain to him certain things that are usually traditional in a culture or like, you know, the company, right? That, you know, goes for everything else, right? So if you're like in the advanced kind of like student realm where you're solid in your foundation and design skills, just learn a sub skill and you'll be more hireable, right? To a client. So little sub talk. So what you're doing right now in terms of like just making a game is like, you know, awesome. Like, you know, you're making yourself a lot more hireable doing that. Okay. Then the other nose. Actually, let's just work with black and white. Let's just do this. Because I feel like I'm gonna do this regardless with like red. Usually I use like red for like explaining or like early kind of construction, but I don't think we need to do that for right now. Let's just get the vision down. feel like I curved her. Let's like shrink her nose a little bit. 'Cause her nose isn't that big either. Yeah, I feel like a couple things. Her jaw's like wide, but it's not that wide. And like because let me extend the cranium. Actually, you know what? Yeah, made her head like a little too. Actually, let me redo this because her head's not that crazy. It is tilted. That's as without a fact it is tilted, but it's not that crazy. Also, let me turn down my opacity because I feel like I'm making really one little trick about doing faces, and this goes for drawing in general, but if you lower your opacity, like darker lines mean like relatively more commitment to whatever you're doing. So if you draw really harsh lines in the beginning, it means you hard committed to something. So just if you feel like things are not working in your favor in terms of like the look, just like either like erase it, come back to it. What I like to do sometimes, and I've noticed like other artists do, is like they'll erase and make it like a little bit lighter, and then they'll go back in and then they'll like redraw it, right? So like in this particular case, wasn't a fan of how things were done, so just coming back and re-attempting. And then it's kind of like that, right? One thing you want to pay attention to with like faces is kind of what you see. Now, one thing I'm noticing about like how she's like biting her lip is that her jaw itself isn't moving, like it's not extending as much as I'm kind of making it out to. But her chin is. So I have to give her chin more of the emphasis than I do her jaw. But yeah. And here, again, her nose isn't that big, so I need to tone it back. It's oh wait, yeah, it's not supposed to be that. There we go. that. Like I said earlier, for those watching earlier or watching the stream later, the faces, because this is more of like a warm-up and like learning opportunity for not only you guys but for myself. I have no problem going back and trying to correct my mistakes. There we go. So if you're doing portfolio characters, I was assuming 1 a day, but also working full time outside of working on improve. So 1 a day, yeah. Like if you only have like a limited time to do stuff, like if you had a lot of time, I would just say like just honestly just draw every single day. Characters, they don't have to be complete. Just kind of, you know, study and kind of go from there. But I think for working, and especially like in the placement I am, 1 character's good a day. However, I would suggest if it's not a portfolio character, just have like learn how to analyze and like scrutinize more the character you're drawing. Like draw the character with intent more than roughly kind of sketching, right? Just because, and this could go for like the average person. Yeah, just scrutinize like the characters you draw more often than not. So like, for example, if you're drawing a character and you notice something that you're like lacking in, whatever it is, and this, in order to tell what you're lacking in, a lot of the times I've found is just, a lot of people say like comparison is the thief of joy, but at the same time you need to compare yourself to where you want to work and who the people you look up to. And so my suggestion to you is like, if you have artists that you look up to and you feel like you're not hitting the goals that you're kind of setting out for the company you want to work for, like focus on that, right? Focus more on your intent with the drawing than you are with just plain out drawing a character. 'Cause that intent alone will get you like way farther than mindlessly drawing characters for the sake of like drawing characters. And just like dial in on that specifically. So one character, like if you only have time for like 1 character a day, like from start to finish, like start to color, 1 character is fine. But if you're specifically trying to tackle a process, then do more of that and make like the other process much more easier. So to pull away from this, so for example, 1 character, if you did 1 character a day, do 1 full. Now what does 1 full consist of, right? 1 full consists of sketch. So we'll do the process sketch, right? We'll do line work, or however you want to approach this. However you approach this is how I approach it, right? Sketch, line work, flats, so flat color, and then shadows, and then render, right? That is 1 full character. This, for me, could, depending on how complex the character is or how simple the character is, can take me anywhere from like 2 hours. So we'll say simple is 2 to like like, I don't know, like 6 hours. Complex. Like, they have a lot of stuff on, a lot of materials, right? So in that case, if you're looking to improve your process, you could do one character which tackles all of these equally, but when you're learning each process and how to like efficiently do it, what's going to happen is we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? So we have 20%, 20%, 20%, 20%, and 20% of which would then dial into like 100, right? 100% of the process, right? But it just think of it as in terms of skill, right? So you're only getting a 20% increase every single time you do each one of those parts. Now, eventually, if you do more and more of that, like over and over again, you'll build an aptitude, and those 20% like add up, right? You might increase, and what I mean by 20%, I mean like it's like a 0.002 skill increase. If we think about it like in a game, right? Like XP increase, right? Like it's very little. But if you keep doing more and more of that, you'll get better and better and better, right? However, this is option 1. And then there's like option 2, where you tackle each part at 100%, right? So if you do sketch at 100%, let's say 100%, and it's only sketching, you focus on like other things like silhouette, gesture, flow, composition, and like design. Well, design consists of a lot of things, but you get, this is your 100%. These are the things you're focusing on, and these are the things that are going to improve. Mind you, if you only focus, like if this only gave you like a 0.002 experience increase every time you did the full thing, these are like 0.00002 that you're increasing, like all these little things, right? But if you put 100% of it, you're getting like a 0.01 XP increase, right? And then these also get a 0.1 increase. And so you're like growing those things faster, right? However, tackling them individually, a lot of the times, that's where some people actually like build their like niche skill, is because they like dial in on some of this stuff, right? So like some people just focus on the sketch, and actually that's what sometimes gets people hired. Like they just purely focus on the sketch and they get that experience increase like crazy, and then everything else, it's like it like balances out a little bit, but they're doing it as like whatever. But sometimes people just focus on the sketch alone, right? Some people just focus on line work. And then what does line work do? Like if we go like line work, like what does line work increase, right? Work. And if we branch this down, say 100% line work, right? Well, you're gonna have to do the sketch in order to get to the line work, right? So you're still gonna have to do this part, right? But line work, what does that increase? Penmanship. We'll just say penmanship, right? Clarity. What do you call it? Not composition. Penmanship, clarity, forms, right? Practicing forms more consistently, right? Stuff like that, right? And so that's how you kind of think about when you're doing stuff, is what are you tackling and what do you want to gain the most experience out of that specific niche that you're tackling out of this entire process, right? So if you're thinking about that, right, what do you want to tackle during the day? If you look at your character, let's say you do a character and you're like, my rendering skills are so bad. You will do all of this. Like, you would make the character really simple, but just tackle the rendering, right? And you put 100% of energy on the rendering and making sure that rendering looks good. Like, if you just have to paint a book, or if you have to paint a character in a t-shirt and some jeans and like shoes, just to get your rendering skills like to a top level and practice that over and over again, then just do that, right? If you want to be more complex with your character, right? And you just want to focus on the sketch and you want to focus on all these things, right? Then you just do that, right? Over and over again. And you just keep doing that, right? So that's kind of, you know, that's how I would approach it, or how I would think about it, is like, what do you want to tackle during the day for the limited time you do have, right? And especially if it's not for a portfolio. If it's for a portfolio, right? And this is like just for people listening on the outside. If it is for a portfolio, you tackle everything and you do it like, that's like your final, what you've done all the studying, all the stuff for. And so you tackle everything at its like 100%. Like, but it takes longer. Like, it's no longer just like, I do like a 30-minute sketch and then I take it to render and like that's my portfolio base. It's like, no, you spend hours on the sketching process. You spend hours on the line work and cleanup process. You spend hours figuring out the stuff like that, right? That's for portfolio stuff. But for sketching, like, just pick one and just kind of like either do one character a day, which you tackle all the things and you kind of learn unanimously, or you focus on one thing and you just get really good at that for like whatever you want to tackle during the day, right? I have projects for my portfolio and I don't need that. I need to build a full process that I can be comfortable with. But I feel like right now what I need more than anything is learning to just relax and allow the process to be what it is. Yeah, just practice number one, like over and over again. Like, you'll figure it out as time goes on, right? There isn't like my process is very different, and it's because the way I think about everything. Like, if I were to explain to you my process and how I tackle everything, like that would be like hours and hours of like videos, right? Because it's just like, even how I tackle this face alone is just a process in like literally just understanding like foundations for like, which is a whole other topic, right? But this will help me later on when I practice like, you know, doing design work or sketches, and then I get the faces right? Like, the foundational stuff will just look right. Oh, no, her thing's like right here, and then like her neck would kind of connect right here, and then it's kind of like she has like low shoulders, question mark, and then there's a shadow line that connects right here. So I would just sketch that in, and then her hair covers a lot. Right, and then her head. Let's make sure this is. Yeah, there we go. And then her eyes might be a bit smaller. There we go. So yeah. I mean, me practicing faces, yeah, it just like ties in. But when it comes to like process work, it's a matter of like how you just execute your fundamentals. And design is like how you think about like the topic at hand, right? So the more you practice your fundamentals, the process of your, like how you do things gets a lot more simpler, right? So if I practice color a lot, when I get to the color phase, I've practiced colored so much with like other things that when I start coloring in the character, it like feels much more natural. And now I'm just focused on the design point, right? Oh, wait, no. I gotta like look. Okay, so look at her eyes. We have her pupil right here. And then we have like we have some like shadow right here, and then we have like one pupil like up here. But it doesn't look right. So I'm just gonna do this. I'm assuming it's like a shadow. It's like right there. And she has really dark, like a rim around her eyes. There you go. And then one thing I have to be careful about with her teeth is like how they lie on the mouth. Because then it could easily look like buck teeth, and that's not what I want. And then she has more of a... her eyes covered by a lot of shadow. Not eyeshadow specifically, but shadow. So it looks like she's giving that like flirty look. And then her eyebrows. I'm just going to assume they're like really curvy. Actually, let me get rid of... Yeah, dude, if you feel like if you feel like you're having a hard time like finishing work, paint something that like is really simple to get to the painting process. So one thing that I noticed is gonna thanks for the questions, because this gets me like to, you know, yapping a lot. So one thing I noticed, and I did this Space Marine, and I figured out a process, and it's about your mental space on how long it takes you to get to the color part, right? So if you spend, let's say, sketch, if you only had, let's say 5 hours. 5 hours. 5 is the lucky number here. And let me get a thing so I don't copy and paste it. Okay. So how to get to color without burning out and like feeling intimidated after doing like sketching for a long time, right? So let's say you have like 5 hours to do something, right? 5 hours. That's it. No longer, no longer than that, right? So you have sketch. We'll put S for sketch. We'll put L for line. We'll put F for flats. We'll put S for shadows, and then R for render, right? And let's say you gave 1 hour to each, right? Now, realistically, that would be the case, right? But oftentimes what ends up happening is if we copy this down, it is not 1 hour. I do this too, right? This is how I can explain it, right? It is not 1 hour. It is like this, more realistically. It is 3 hours of sketching. Nah, not 3 hours. Maybe 3 hours, depending if I'm like really like fidgeting with the character, like I'm trying to get that down. 2 hours of sketching, maybe like an hour of line work, maybe like 30 minutes of flats, and then maybe like 30 minutes of shadow, and then what is this? 3, 4, and it's like 2 hours of that, right? And so it's like, oh, okay, like that kind of makes sense. But if you expand over that, that's where you start getting that mental fatigue. And if you do this instead, this is where it's going to mess you up, right? This is where it gets most people. If 5 hours is your mental bandwidth, right? And you go over that on the assumption, right? This is like the imaginary 5 hours. So you don't have to take 5 hours. But 5 hours is the only bandwidth you have and you go over that. Watch what happens. You do 3 hours of sketching, 1 hour, or like, let's say, 1 hour of, what do you call it? Line work, or 2 hours of line work. You have no bandwidth for anything else. So if you keep doing this over and over and over and over again, yeah, rendering is going to seem a lot daunting because you only have 5 hours, and that's like your brain is already fried by then, right? So one thing I've tackled, right, is I switch it up a little bit. I do. Oh, this is like, I'll put an X here for don't do this, because if you do this, you'll burn yourself out. Anything past this is like burnout. Say 5 hours. Anything past let's say pass equals burnout out, right? Of course, the better you get, the longer you could do it, and you know, we're not talking about that, right? So one thing I did is I switched it up a bit, right? So what I did instead, and mind you, this was an experiment, but I found myself being able to tackle color and everything else much more efficiently. Because for me, what ended up happening is I would do sketch, line work, flats. By the time I got to flats, I was already burnt out, right? I already put so many hours into sketching the character up that by the time I got to flats, I was burnt out, right? What we can do, though, is we switch flats and line work here. We'll put flats, we'll put blue. Flats and line work here, and we switch them. We switch them. And now you do sketch, and you put maybe like 30 minutes? 30 minutes into flats? And you're already like, oh shit, I already got like the color in. I already know like the character's like kind of already halfway done. Put like 30 minutes into the line work. You put like 30 minutes into what do you call it? Like shadows. And now when we look at this, we have an hour and 30 minutes of would be an hour and 30 minutes. Would be, what is this? 1 hour, hour and a half. Be like an hour, give or take. Hour and 30? Yeah, hour and 30 to render. Right? And so we're not like, by the time we're at color, we could do everything else, and then rendering is just like polishing it up. Right? So that's how I found myself being able to get over those hurdles sometimes of like, oh, I can never feel like I can render because by the time I get to colors, I'm already burnt out. But if I sketch, color, then line work, then shadow and render, like my brain is like, oh, like we're almost there. Like we're already at the halfway point, right? So that's my thought process. Now, when you get to rendering, you can render for like 3 years, right? But getting to the point of rendering can always be the like most difficult part sometimes, right? So we want to get over that hurdle. So this is how I've tackled it. Sometimes line work doesn't just take me, like if I go from sketch to line work, I feel like I have to accommodate more because the sketch is so sketchy, right? If I show you on the side, right? If I show you like a sketch and it's like a character and he's got like a hood, just do a quick mage. I don't know why I've been enjoying drawing mages recently, right? And then he's like this, right? Now the thing that I ran into is like, by the time I get to line work, it's like, okay, now I got to draw in the face and the facial features, and I got to do all this other stuff, right? And like the nose and the mouth, and then the hair. What does his hair look like? And you know, this. And mind you, it's just clean line work as well, right? I'm sketching it in, but like usually I would do clean line work, and it would be a lot more messier than this, right? I need to do this, and I'm creating, you know, all these like hood shadows and this and the fabric, and oh, what if he has like a, you know, he has a crust here and he has all this other stuff, and by that time I'm thinking about so much, right? Versus the new process that I found that gets me over that hump really quickly. Let's lower this. I use this tool called Filthy, which allows my lassos to be very quick, right? So what if, let's change this color a little bit. How's this look? We can go a little bit brighter. Yeah. So what if I just got into color first? We just did this. He probably has like a belt of some sort. We'll do this. Right? He has like a band, and maybe it boils down to here, and then we have the robe. So we have the robe, and then we have the hood. Actually, let me actually, you know what? No. We have the hood. Then let's say the guy inside. Mind you, I would have a little bit more of a crazier sketch than this, but and we have this. Maybe we have like something like that. Maybe some like shoulder pads, right? Actually, no, I'll just leave it like this, right? So we have the character like almost there, right? And then from here, now we go into line work, right? Let's like remove this. Now we go into, okay. So we have this, we have his hood. Kind of just outlining the silhouette, giving him the folds. You know, that would normally give him. And then here would be kind of like the folds from his hood. Right? Maybe like that. And from here down, we have his that. And then from here we have his waist. Probably like bands right here. And down here we have his like loincloth looking thing. And then now we can create his folds, because we're just mimicking. I mean, mind you, I would do this a little bit more like I would actually have an intent behind it, but in this particular case we're just drawing a mage. So we'd have like this. It's more of his cloth area. And then we'd have the guy's head, and his eyes, his nose, and then probably would have already had his hair in here already, and his neck, and then if I wanted to add like occlusion shadows to him, right? And then down below. And then from there, we just raise the color because he's going to be back to his like colored stuff. And now we already got like the line work done, right? See how like I'm already in color. I don't have to go back into like flat colors. I don't have to like figure things out, because in the sketch we kind of already did. Now we are in the clean line work section, and the only thing we really need to do is just color correct that like certain spots that I might have like either changed or missed. For example, like the hair, let's give him like, I don't know, brown hair or something, right? Even right here, we would just like clean this up a little bit, right? Clean them up, right? This is all we're doing. We're just cleaning this up. this really quickly. Really quickly. And guess what? We're already here. Like, like it. Now, what's the next step, right? Next step is we duplicate the layers on the right. We go to mask. We go to multiply. Multiply this guy. We inverse right here. Now, what can we do here? We're already in the shadows. Like, that didn't take me more than like 15 minutes to do, and mind you, I just did a simple character without like really going into his face, but that's usually what I would do, is like go into his face. And so from here, like now roughly, depending on where the light source kind of hits, right? We are already here. Right? We're in the folds. We're in the shadows area. Let's actually put this right here because I'm going to assume the light's like coming from the top. And then one little trick. It's usually the bottom is the least lit, especially if the light's coming from the top. Oh, hold up. So, you know, we kind of do something like that. We can add some like, actually if we add like a dark background to him, if anything. Add like a dark background. Maybe from here we could add some like, let's add some glow. Outer glow. Can add some like rim light to him, some sort. It like comes from the back. This is like little finesse fun or whatever, right? Like relatively we got here. And now the rest of our time is going to be dedicated to rendering. I'm not going to render this character because it can take some time, but like now we've already gotten to that point, right? Before, what would end up happening is I would sketch some crazy character, then I would have to like figure out the details, and then I would have to apply color, and then I would correct that color, and it's like, that would take way too much time. Now we could just focus on rendering, and rendering is just a lot of like just cleaning up, right? So hopefully that helps you. That's like kind of a process that I discovered, and it's really helped me out, like get over that hurdle. Also, if you haven't already, this file will be saved over to Masterclass. There's a 7-day free trial. You can sign up and get this, you know, get these notes all to yourself and see, you know, see how you could check these things out. But yeah, that is how I approach that situation. All right, now back to Billie Eilish. Let's put this opacity down. There you go. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. And then we're gonna. She has strands. I'm just gonna silhouette the strands. And then her ear isn't there, but I have it there because, you know, because why not? And then her hair has this like flow like right here, and then it like branches out right here. And then this part goes out like this. this bumps out right here. And it's kind of like that. But now we could do is just correct things that I feel like I didn't do right. Oh, right. Her head is tilted just a tad. And then because of the flow of her hair, it covers up a lot. Oh, there we go. It's not as intense, so. There we go. Okay, now I feel like I'm getting, like we're seeing the vision. Before I was like, what am I looking at? I always feel like I get to that. It's like, what am I looking at? Now I feel like we're looking at Billie Eilish. Yeah, man. I'm glad that helped out. Yeah, because I always run into those issues, and then I'm like, I don't tend to like finish characters, and I like fall in love with the sketching process, but at the same time, it's like kind of a burnout by the time I get from sketching to final. So I discovered a way to like half that process, so I can get to the coloring and then just feel like, oh, okay, cool. Yo, Dragon, what's up? How's it going? Currently, right now, just sketching faces and spitting knowledge. I do feel like I could increase, because her head feels a little flat. Like that much. There you go. Oof. It's been about an hour. I haven't been doing this for an hour. I've been just been talking to Nep about like design and like process and how to like think about it. If anything, if I were to think about it like a true time, this been working on it for at most like 10 minutes. Like actually pen to character, it's been about like 10 minutes. But yeah. So, in our case, let's just slightly coat this eye. And what I'm going to do is that, cuff this over here. And her eye does shadow in like this. Probably longer. I don't know. Do I draw any creatures? It's not my forte. In terms of like monsters, like humanoid creatures, maybe, like on occasion. Um, but not like animalistic creatures. I don't know too much about like animal anatomy that I like actively focus on it. It's not my like thing that I actively draw, but yeah, on occasion. Gearbox is a company that works on like mini games. Borderlands being their most famous one. gonna almost wrap her up and then move on to the next head. There you go. And pull this in more. Could crease this eye a bit more. I feel like her eye is doing that. And this part right here, if we look, those can't see. If we look at her left eye from just the corner of the screen, just kind of slightly deviate that in, some of that shadow, like lower eyeshadow in, and then what I'm gonna do is tilt the brush. Then we can add some lashes. And here, still think this could be darker. Then her eye right here. Get this a little bit darker so it kind of like blends in just ever so slightly. And then her eye kind of splits right here, but can't do that with low opacity. kind of be like that. There we go. So one thing, if I show you pen, I have my pressure sensitivity kind of hard, where I get more controlled, lighter strokes because the pen pressure, in order to get a hard line, I have to press really hard, right? If I set it to soft, I have to press really soft to get a hard line. So if you feel like you're heavy-handed, just change your like pressure sensitivity to like a little bit more on the hard side, and you can get, not only that, with like opacity lowered down, you could get these like more softer kind of tones. And then just kind of like outlining the shadows for her nose. And then I think that's it. I mean, we could do more and like I don't know, shadow in like a collarbone, if you know, right here or something. And then I'm gonna like lightly do her hair. I'm not gonna do anything crazy. She does one thing, she does have a lot of like strands, but to be honest, like especially with more stylized stuff, you don't want to draw like every single strand, because then that just kind of like muddies up the like composition of the character. I prefer to keep it more silhouette based. I think that might be it. Okay, I've been saying that for like 20 minutes. That is it. We're gonna finish off there, and then we're gonna be working on the second character, second guy. All right. Yeah, I don't know, man. Usually with me, the reason why I actually don't have it set because of opacity reason. I have it set because of a hand reason. Sometimes like my hand gets cramped up when I have to press, or I have to like strain my hand to like focus in on lines, like especially light lines. So I just prefer to have light lines with a lighter touch than really like kind of scrutinizing my lines a little bit. Actually, so it's probably like more like this. His neck is like that. So if we get that angle, and then we draw the circle right here, do this, we can get that perfect angle. You have his like brow ridge right here. Which more like that. Here, this guy's got like a nose that like kind of divots out like that. And because his muzzle's the one that peeks out the most, he's gonna have like a more of a open mouth like that, his lips, and then his jaw's gonna peek under like that. I might need to adjust the proportions of that just a tad, maybe like that. Then from here, it's gonna be a little weird because, yeah, just gonna have this. So I think the line of action might have been even shorter than this. So if that's the case, then what we'll do, my part, just push it back more so skull is more proportional. I'll just say that his eye kind of peeks. We have his lashes, and then we have his, like that. Huh, yeah, a little bit. Oh, Samsung tablet. Yeah, I use an XP pen. I would highly recommend an XP pen. It's cheap. Does the same qualities as Wacom, and yeah, don't if you're on a budget, I'd recommend it. But yeah, a lot of the times it's so like cliche to say, but when people say it's like, oh yeah, it's just like a tool, it doesn't matter. Like you don't have to drop the price ball for it. It like sometimes literally is like just the tool, right? In the beginning, I used to always think, oh, the expensive option's more important. But nope. Does this thing does kind of cuff like that. It's not like full. So we could do this now. Then his nose. If we do this, we branch it out more like this, and then we pop it out. This. And then this pouts out like that. Oh, yeah. Yeah, your Huion should have the same. Your Huion should have like the same kind of like settings. If you use it like on your off time. Same rules apply. But that's interesting that your Samsung one doesn't have like the sensitivity options like that. Dips over here. So he does have like a crunched up nose, but what's this? Gotcha. makes sense. Here we go. And his shoulders kind of dip down right here. Then his back leans back over here. Because we have the shoulder blades right here, they're gonna cuff like this. Gonna do that. Gonna have that. And it's gonna cuff like this. Something like that. And actually it's not gonna be, I look actually at it. This is probably a lot smaller than I made this. And this is gonna curve like that. There we go. There we go. And then his head, now that I'm noticing it, it's not as crazy. Do have it at the same angle, but it's more like, yeah. And then his head silhouette, bring this up a little. Head silhouette is pulled over here more. And kind of cuffs down like this. And then the neck is going to connect right here. There we go. This face line. Do that. There we go. It actually does cuff over here. He's scrunching his face a little bit. So we're gonna do this. Punch this out a little bit more. Hold up, we're not punching it out enough. There we go. Let's exaggerate that. There we go. And then his eyelashes. We're gonna bring, so he does have his eye part like right here. He has his skull part right here. Actually, you know what? I'm just gonna commit to what I see. And then his lips, they do have this divot. Wait, let's pull it back more. Do have this divot. Let's make this thinner. Here. There we go. And then this balls out over here. There we go. This cuffs over here. And we're gonna do the eyebrows. Which is more parted over here, so let's do this. Alright. Let's clean this character up. Let's get rid of all of this construction lines. Then this guy's cheek does come out like more over here, but that's about it. There we go. Okay, now it's just like pseudo cleanup. Getting in like little extra details. And then like silhouette line work. Go. Let's keep its hair short. It does have a little like frizziness to it. That's what I'm adding, those little sharp edges, but nothing too crazy. And gonna go from there. And then his hair does have this kind of bump right here. Could be like his hair's so short that it's like it might be a little easy to miss, but just for the sake of this guy's continuity and like the direction his hair kind of goes, I'm gonna roughly outline the direction, but not too puffy. Here. And we're going to outline his his back area. Which I think just might do this. His shoulder, only going to outline the part that curves. And then slashes. And then he has like this double eyelid thing going on. Here we're gonna get the other nose part. Get his lips. Wait. Oh, there we go. And we're gonna get his eyebrows. Now we add these like little pockets of shadows, kind of similar to how I did with Billie Eilish. It's kind of like a comic book way of doing shadows. This area is going to be a little bit darker. This guy's got a lot of like shadowy areas, especially in his eyes. Even right here, I'll add it. I think that's about it. His head might be a little bit bigger. At least like this spot. Yeah. Anyways, yep. So 2 heads done with 30 minutes left to kill. What I will do now for the last half is probably just sketch a character, pull up some reference, maybe like a what do you call it? Like an object, and then try to make a character out of it. So let's see. Jewels, sometimes jewelry, is a fun little, like, because there's always decorations on it. Gems. Let's see. Ooh, that's fun. Let's see. What is something we could do as of right now? Ooh, this looks fun. Okay, let's just do this. It's a little fun gem. It's got enough of a silhouette. Okay, let's see. What if this person was like a fighter? Because that's what keeps popping up in my head. Kind of looks like a gauntlet to me. So let's do this. Let's do this. And then the jewel pop up over here. And then it's a little bit more direct in terms of how this thing is laid out, but we'll trick it up. Yeah. All right. And then we'll do the body underneath. Let's do the hips right there. Let's do the legs right here. Legs might be a little too long for the figure, but we can fix that. If you're looking to practice characters also, this is a great way to practice characters, is just take an object and just study its form language. You can get some like unique shapes out of it a lot of the time. It's a common practice. It opens up your like visual library a lot of the times. Say this is like a fist right here. This would be right the shoulder. And we have that. the rib cage, abdomen. Yeah. It's a very unique, because a lot of times what do you call it? Your brain, when doing an assignment kind of like this, or like a little fun exercise like this, is it cuts off like a middleman of just thinking of new and inventive shapes for an archetype you're trying to do, right? So if, like, let's say I'm just doing like a fighter, right? I might look up fighter, I don't know, like as an archetype if I pull it up. So a lot of times like a boxer will pop up. And a lot of times they're just wearing shorts or like minimal gear, right? So this, or yeah, a lot of times they're just wearing like minimal stuff. And so we would just give them a more casual fit. So for here, but yeah, it allows you to make more inventive kind of shapes when you're kind of sticking with the archetype. So if we think of fighter, we can think of, yeah. Can think of some oh, here we go. Copy. Paste. Think of like an MMA fighter. I mean, this character is just stretching. I'm not going to do like the pose itself. But we can get this kind of outfit out. Who's the character I was looking at? Oh, this person. Copy. Paste. Get some reference in here. I mean, even crazy enough, you can get even more like into the wrestler kind of outfit. Where they're very like performative, right? But we're gonna keep this person more of an MMA kind of area. This person's gonna have like knee pads. And even to the knee pads, we can bring some of that like gem, right? This is like a bit of a stretch, but dude, the difference between like when you study a form language and you're like, huh, like it's a gem right there. You can add elements. I could add a circle, I could add spikes, I could add whatever, but the intent is like to copy the form language. So, you know, we add that, and then if we notice on the corners of this gem, there's like little barracks that hold it together, like little strains. So we could do this. Helps us understand a little bit better of our form language. And then if we wanted to, we could add like the encrusted thing. The like gem itself. but that would be more of a texture thing than it would be a more direct like coloring over it. So let's add these. Right. And I'd imagine this person's like really strong, so they got like legs. They got muscular legs. And I see some of them have like boots. Just keep it to the sketch, keep it really loose. Stitching. Let me branch this out a little bit so it's got some mass. There you go. There we go. So then the legs would go right here. Actually, from what I see of this person who I'm referencing, they have more of a tongue on their thing, their shoe. So let's bring that down. That over here, and let's do this. All right. Go. Let me expand this out more because it looks like the other knee is really chunky. Let's make this bigger. Yeah, there we go. Now, certain elements, when I'm looking, for example, like this area where I see some of the fighters themselves, like here and, or not here, but see, this lady has like decorations to her, like in terms of like belts and chastities and all that stuff, and versus like these people. I'm gonna copy the silhouette of like this particular person's like pants, but I'm gonna add like the belts and all that stuff. But what we can do now that we get into like the decoration area, is maybe we could add some of that belt look, like this outer ring, like this part. If we get the red, this part, we can, that could be a belt buckle, right? So we could do this, where we can branch this out like that, like that, bring this in. We could do this, right? And then this kind of cuffs in these corners. Then we have this belt. Right? Just little things like that, right? That tie in your form language to the world. Right? Because if I did a normal belt, then like there's no point to the form language itself, right? In terms of like just a normal belt buckle. So we could do this actually to give it more of a believable look. We could do that, right? And then we could do squares, right? They had like more. Do they have? They have circles. We can do squares here. We could do like the Hot Topic looking belts. But it's to reminisce that gem in the center. So maybe she has a very shiny belt. Right. Here. Like really tight pants. I'll simplify this, but pants are really go. This can be more out. There we go. Then have the shirt, which isn't really all that crazily done, but do have abs. Yeah. And the oblique area. So give her like muscles. Then from there, let's see. Their arms would probably be pretty bare. Think about how this is gonna pan out. Let's see. We're gonna have this. Got to make sure everything kind of aligns. Or this is actually going in front of it, so hold up. Let me. So it's probably going to be. If we're doing this, right? If anything. If we think about it, let's see, neck, pelvic, shoulder's gonna come out over here. Then if anything, we're gonna do this. Because if it reached out over there, that'd be a little bit too much. Actually, let me, Oh, I did this on the wrong layer. Oh well. Yes. Simplify this a little bit. Get this over here, there. And we're gonna have the arm pop over here. The elbow might be. Fist pop out. Let's do this. There we go. You like this? There we go. And this would show a little bit. Right? So let me stream's gonna go a little bit over, just so we can get at least the sketch down. The elbow would be like around here. And then this arm. Here. Actually, is this off center a little? Yeah. Let me center it back. There we go. There we go. It's a little off center. See me making random face expressions. I'm just like in my head, I'm like, how does this kind of work? All right, now I gotta. All right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to merge these two, merge down, and increase her head size because her body is kind of long. Yeah. Maybe she's not looking at. Oh, maybe she is. Maybe she's like looking at the crowd. Hmm. Maybe expand her. Okay, now we get into like the weapon. She just fucking lugs that shit around. So after I it was the first thing I drew, it's probably gonna the last thing for the stream that I'll sketch out. I'll just do this. actually, you know what? I'm gonna do a little fun cheat. This whole thing's like the whole point of the design, right? And because I literally made it more direct. Oh, dude, that would be sick. Look right there. You just figure out the rest from there. Actually, you know what? Let's pull it over here. Hell yeah. And then we can, from here, we'll just expand on it. But for right now, just to save time. From there, let's make it more direct, since this is the most direct thing from the design. If I was drawing something like more subtle, then I wouldn't do this at all, because it's more of a subtle kind of approach to it. But since this is the most like direct thing I'm doing, it's like I would be wasting time trying to like imitate like, or like quote unquote like study it versus just like ripping it exactly. And from here I could add like blades or some other thing, right? Is that everything? No. I think now that's everything. Yeah, and then like her arm would be like somewhere in here. There we go. See, now that we got it, right? This is her like gauntlet thing. So now we can add things like blades. Maybe right here we can add, instead of a gem, it could be like an exhaust, right? Over here could be like more sci-fi kind of things to approach with. Right. Over here. Can add like a let's see. I intended these to be 2 blades, so let's make it more over here. Here could be like laser blades. Yeah. Only thing, I would then have to sci-fi her kind of kit, because if I don't, then her arm just being the only sci-fi element would be kind of weird. Maybe she's like a brawler in this like sci-fi world. Yeah. Oh, you know, it'd be cool. She had the wings like right here. They kind of like flare out. Or no, actually. have the wings like right here. Like at her feet. There we go. Here, boots. Toughen up her shoes a little bit. Yeah. Maybe since she's a fighter. Look at the camera. What if I were to change it up instead of... Ah, yeah, that would be fun. I was like, in my head, I was like, you know, it's kind of like, she's a fighter. Why does she have blades? These are questions you ask yourself. You're like, is it really like adhering to the design? Maybe she has like a laser fist. They're like holographic, but like when she brings them out and she like punches somebody, it's almost like getting punched by like a laser. It like doesn't necessarily hurt, but getting punched, like getting your body half incinerated by like a laser fist is like a different story. Maybe like to an extent, like the punch does land as like more of it. Like they could be like a shadow fist or like right here. So there's like an actual fist. But the overall silhouette is a laser fist, right? So we can almost double down on that kind of idea. Maybe like there's some steam that kind of pops out, right? Actually, what we could do, one more thing, actually, because we can still make it like techie and sci-fi or whatever, but pull these out more. You can have like this kind of steam that pops out of these fists. These like, you know, jolt out, right? So now we have like, you know, when she like reloads them, almost, we could say, like, for example, a character who has big chunky gauntlets is like Fi, in a particular sense, but this is like a one-armed gauntlet chick, and I'd imagine in this like sci-fi world, like she's stretching, and then the like, as she like kind of is like releasing steam, like releasing pressure from the gauntlet itself. Maybe you could do like a 2-finger from the hologram. It's like a 2-finger kind of, like she's piecing, so we add like some personality to these like hands. Some little fun, right? Bring some more steam. Stuff jolts. It's like, right? So yeah, a little over time, a little over 20 minutes, but it's pretty much it for today. Got some head studies in and character, which was really fun to do. So yeah, man, or everybody that's watching, thank you for watching. Appreciate it. If you guys want the PSD files for this, it will be in Masterclass. You can find the link down in the description down below to dissect everything I did, get the references, and check them out. All right, you guys have a great night, and thank you for showing up. Peace, peace.